saw work and or cutting with nippers or machetes where we can.
And then what about removing the debris then?
Then it'll just be put into the boat or brought to shore and they're removed each day. So we're done.
So this is different than what you did before?
As far as what we're using, a little bit, yes.
Not as intense.
Yeah.
Because
Because of the density, it's not as
Intense.
intense. So
the density isn't as great because of the work that was done last year. And so the technique that Matt explained.
Hello, louder, please.
We can't hear
Okay.
him, I'm sorry.
All right. So last year, when we started this project, Matt had to use some pretty significant equipment. Those of you who were out here saw that. Because the cattail was so dense and extended so far out beyond the shoreline. But if you go on the tour with us at 7, we'll point out where the cattail has been knocked back significantly. And that is going to make it easier now for this follow-up treatment to use boats, to use just plain old like weed whackers, but with a blade on it that will cut cattails below the water level, and then just hand tools, snippers and knives. And then that is much different than what you saw here last fall and winter. if you guys were out here.
Efforts have you made to find equipment that's made for this kind of a job? Instead of a land-based weed whacker. I know you're talking about weeding, but that weed whacker's a land tool, not a water tool.
Matt, what do you
I'm
think?
not sure what kind of equipment you mean.
Do you know the equipment?
I do know the equipment from Sweden and from Holland, and it's attainable, and it's amphibious.
The research we did for looking at that type of equipment had to be mounted on a boat, and the cattails are still too thick to be able to push through that type of biomass right now. So that's why the hand works a little bit better. Because we can't use the smaller boats that we have don't have the horsepower to push through that biomass.
I thought you said you were gonna have the saw on the boat and cut it.
Wait, I'm saying the research we've done is a mounted saw on a boat. It gets mounted and pushed along.
Like the Jensen lake mower?
Correct. Yep.
Why didn't you use that last year?
The biomass is way too great
Too
to push
dense.
through.
How did you know that? You
We're just-
never tried it.
We took a very good guess at that.
And there are people in town that have that. They could have come down one day and tried, and then you could have known whether it worked or not.
You know, we did try with a boat getting into the mats. It was very challenging.
You in the North Pond.
And the South Ponds, both of them. Very, very challenging to push into
We
the
went pretty
vegetation.
closely. We never saw a boat.
A boat?
We never saw a boat in the either pond.
We used a boat a little bit last fall.
And Matt, do you want to talk about that larger piece of equipment that was brought in that had the arm that reached out? That
Yeah,
was
so
able to
what
help
we used last year was,
people?
it was just a sickle mower, same concept as the Jensen mower,
Yes.
the way the mechanism works. And we had an excavator arm that was able to reach out farther.
Yeah, we
and
saw
cut
that.
Yep,
I think everybody here probably saw it.
sure.
Was that done from shore, or was that done
Yep,
from
we
a boat?
done from shore, and then we would place down marsh mats so that we weren't sinking into the soil and be able to work our way a little further up.
Is there anyone here tonight from the DNR, and I'm wondering what their role in this is, or responsibility?
Part of the push.
There is somebody from the DNR. And he's come to observe and see
Yeah,
what's
I've
happening.
just come to hear what's being discussed, and we're watching this project with quite a bit of interest. And we know, as AES knows, that cattail's a very tough plant to manage.
On the
I've always heard that it was the DNR who was kind of, you know, calling the shots and running the show, and
Yeah, we permit the treatments, and you know, it's been a long time to get to this point, I would say. I haven't been involved with the previous permit discussions, but there is a permit now that allows lake-wide control. We're curious to see how effective it can be.
When you talk about biomass, what's biomass?
Just accumulation of dead plant material, thatch, that would be biomass.
Particularly the reeds or?
Yep, yeah, the cattails.
So be using any chemicals or?
We will, only where the cattails can't be cut below the water line far enough to suffocate them.
What chemicals?
An aquatic approved Roundup.
Roundup, glyphosate Roundup.
Why
And
is it, how is it approved? What does it consist of?
What's that?
What does it consist of? What are the ingredients?
is it more than just Roundup, more than just glyphosate?
Nope, glyphosate is the active ingredient in it.
But there's other surfactants and things that are part of usual mixtures and applications of Roundup. So what are those?
We add in a non-ionic aquatic approved surfactant called activator 90 also, which is basically like breaks the surface tension of water.
Do these chemicals poison the water?
No, because they adsorb to soil very strongly. And so the reason it's aquatic approved is because it won't float in the soil, it'll filter
In the
out
water
of the,
column, it won't float in the water column.
right, it'll sink out of the water
And
column.
where are you getting that information?
What's that?
Whose science is that?
There are many studies that have been done.
From
on this.
what institutions? Has the Park Board run a study on this? Has the state of Minnesota run a study on this? Has the city of Minneapolis run a study on this? What you're claiming that it's not going to be floating in the water?
It, all you have to do is Google glyphosate and read the Wikipedia entry. And there's research from all over the world, including the European Union, which has higher environmental standards than us.
Which I hear 2 European Union countries just banned Roundup itself on the store shelf recently,
That could be, but the point is,
in the last 3 months.
it's an interesting.
And the
debate.
reason they've done it is because the World Health Organization is now telling us that Roundup is a likely carcinogen. What does your company say about putting a likely carcinogen into a food source, our fishing pond? And also, the DNR website lists cattails as a source of human food. What do you have to say about putting your poison on our food?
I would say no one's going to eat the cattails. That's one.
Oh, so are you?
But Justin, do you want to add something?
Again, I think the question has been asked and answered about the process that is going to happen or that we've looked at. So let's move on from that. The people who did this.
Why do we have to move on from questions about chemicals? I will not. I will
We're
not.
asking about the safety of what's going into our water and into our soil. That's a very relevant question.
But
I'm
I
not saying it's
think
not
there are
relevant.
other questions as well that we'd like to make sure that get answered.
I do not feel like any of my questions were answered. I want to know where the science is from
Thank you for your.
that they are getting, that they're telling us that this is not going to poison us. This young man, I'm sure he's a great guy, but I don't see a scientist, coat on this guy. Where is the science from? And is it from our state? Is it from our city? Is it from our park department? Has it been sponsored by that? Or has it been sponsored by the developer, the maker of these chemicals?
There are dozens of studies that have looked at the toxicity of this chemical.
And many of
Can
them
you
just-
spell it so we
And-
can look it up for
And at the
ourselves?
very
Yeah.
least, we could
It's
say
Roundup.
that
Spell-
we have not researched the long-term effects of glyphosate in water quality. There's that chemical is in almost all the water bodies in the state of Minnesota, including rivers, because it is soluble in water and it doesn't always cling to the soil particles. There is not enough information on neurotoxicity in amphibians.
Agreed.
There is not yet. You could say maybe when
Hear,
the
hear.
studies have been done, but right now, it's questionable. And as long as it's questionable, then it's not safe.
So
Absolutely.
I think
Cheers.
we should
Good
defer
point.
To your point of view, which is this is duly noted. I'll spell it for you: GLYPHOSATE, glyphosate. And there's a large body of research on this chemical. Everybody wants to know about its long-term effects, its short-term effects, because it's such an effective chemical that has been demonstrated to have low toxicity rates for managing vegetation. It's a very important tool to increase the diversity of plant life all around the world.